When we decided to do some kind of a Guinness challenge, we looked in the book online to see what the records were there that you could beat, and one of them was the longest moving line. So to beat the longest moving line of snowmobiles, you had to have all the sleds numbered. You had to have the name, address, and phone number of everybody on a sled. The numbers had to be visible on the sled, videotaped, going out and coming back in the same order. You could lose a sled, but numbers couldn't pass each other. And then also the sleds had to be within 50 feet of each other through the whole event. So we ended up, we did it the first time in 2002, and we got into the books with 307 sleds. It was a pretty impressive occasion. It was held, like I say, in Gimli, Manitoba. We did it two more times. The second time we had 316 sleds. In 2003, 2005 we had 330 sleds. And those two weren't accepted as records. And so, you know, the fact that we were published, the Huntington Society was published in the Guinness Book of World Records, was fantastic. And we also ran a quad event very similar and got into the Guinness Book of Records for the longest moving line of quads. The snowmobile events raised in excess of $35,000 each, so we're over $100,000 raised at each of these events, and for the total of the three. And the secret of success with that thing was that the businesses in the area also did very well, and they called us, "When are you coming back?" The hotel is where we staged the event, and the hotel is in the middle of a summer resort community. One of the events was minus 38, and the place was packed. There were people on the patio eating sandwiches and drinking beer as fast as they could so it wouldn't freeze in the bottle. And yeah, you know, you think about that, and this is a community, like I said, that flourishes in the summertime. It's on a beach. They do no business in the wintertime. But those 3 event days were the busiest 3 days in the hotel's history. So they loved us to come back. And I think that's the secret of a good fundraiser, is to make sure everyone does well. So you're welcome back, you know. Businesses get tired of giving all the time, right? If they see a bit of it too, come on back, right? So now I hold another snowmobile fundraising event called the HT 500. It's in honor of my dad. He worked for Bombardier for 20 years, and he was one of the chief mechanics on the I-500, which was a snowmobile race that went from Winnipeg to Minneapolis, cross country, in the early 80s. And it was a crazy event. Stories I've heard of people driving across the finish line with no skis on the front of their sled that had broken off somewhere along the line, and having to pick up the back of the snowmobile and go again to steer it. So anyways, this event is a 500-kilometer snowmobile run. 30 of us go from Lockport, Manitoba, up north through the lake country through one of our provincial parks, stay overnight at a lodge in 7 cabins, and then have a poker derby the next morning and come back. We've done it 5 times, and we're over $100,000 raised with no more than 30 people each time. So last year we raised $46,000. So that's what I love to do, is I love to try and reel in the cash. Because of my association with my newspaper, it's easy to promote these things, and we write stories about Huntingtons. Every time we do a story about an event, we do a story about Huntingtons. So educate the people about what we're doing and what families are living through. Also involved in our run, selling amaryllis, all the other fundraisers that we do as well. I feel kind of guilty. These are all fantastic, fun events that happen with the greatest people you could ever meet. And so I feel kind of selfish about it that way, but the outcome is good. We raise lots of money for the cause. My parents lived with Huntingtons for 50 years. My father started getting symptoms in his late 20s and passed away in 2009 at 78 years old. fought it pretty hard all the way. No self-pity at all, but he did everything he possibly could until he got hurt doing it, and he finally, gave his license in. Then he, one thing at a time, stopped curling and things like that. I've got a sister, and we've both been tested. We don't have the gene, so spend my time doing as much as I can to fundraise, because my thing is getting the word out and bringing the money in. So.